couple from the continent who recently moved to Hawaii from California grew tired of the city life in Honolulu. Too fast paced, too expensive, little human contact, and a crowd of people. They had a child, a little boy, and they decided they wanted to raise him on the island of Molokai, where it was quiet and everyone knew each other. Everyone looked out for one another, and everyone stayed out of each other's business. The lifestyle was perfect, quiet. The little boy enjoyed his school. After living there for a while, they began to notice something strange. When they would come home from school, prepare dinner, enjoy some quiet afterwards, they would hear their son in his room giggling and laughing. And they'd peek in on him, and he'd be sitting toward the left corner of his room, facing the corner, having an animated conversation with nothing. They let it go a few times, but finally they realized it happened a lot more often than they cared. And so they asked him, when you're in your room, sitting down facing the left corner, who are you talking to? And immediately the little boy replied, the man. The man is my friend. And he comes and he talks to me and tells me about his life, his family, his wife, his children. He's lonely. And so I talk to him. And he likes me. And we have fun. The details of that conversation was a bit too much for the parents. And so they decided that they were going to block off the left side of that room, that corner, so the boy couldn't get to it. And then they moved everything in the room to the right side. And then things began to get even stranger. Every month, for 4 nights, when the parents were up listening to the radio, reading, enjoying each other's company, they suddenly noticed their son coming out of his room, walking down the long hallway, past the kitchen, to the back door, with his hand up in the air like this, his head down, walking toward the back door of the house. Every time it happened, the father would have to go get his son, gently guide him back to his room, and put him to sleep. They talked to the local physician about it and noted that it didn't happen all the time, just 4 nights every month. The physician, educated college in the mainland, is also Hawaiian. And he says to the parents, normally I don't recommend this because it may make me appear to be a bit unprofessional. But I have a number to a man that you should call. He's an uncle of mine. He's a kahuna, a Hawaiian priest who's mastered a particular kind of spiritual arts. The parents of the boy gave the man a call. And in a couple of days, the old Hawaiian man, the kahuna, appeared at their front door and invited them to step out. During this time, the son, the little boy, is at school. As the three are standing outside the house, the kahuna, the old Hawaiian man, looks at the house, looks back this way toward the mountain, looks at the house again, looks back this way toward the mountains, and then says, "You can now show me the inside of your house." And they did. And he looked around, regarding everything and everyone that was in it. And then he said, "Can you take me to the bedroom where your boy sleeps, the one you told me about?" they take him to the bedroom, and he looks around and then says, "Would you now please take me outside through the back door?" And they do. And they stand there and watch as the old Hawaiian man, the kahuna, walks around the house clockwise, stopping at all four corners. And then he invites them to join him in their house, but this time going in through the front door. And he says, this place, Ho'olehua, has what we Hawaiians call huaka'i kapo, night marchers. An army of ancient Hawaiian warriors, spirits, who march the last four moon phases of the Hawaiian lunar calendar at night. You see, your house is sitting on their path. No matter how the lay of the land has changed, the path is still the path. They will continue to march, no matter what's there. Nothing can stop them. What does this mean? The father said to the old Hawaiian man, the kahuna. I looked at your son's room, and I noticed the left corner of it is blocked off. And so when we walked around the house on the outside, I regarded that same left corner. You see, under the left corner of your son's room is buried an old Hawaiian man. This was once his property. He worked as part of the plantation here, and he outlived his family because they all died from different kinds of sickness that were not Hawaiian. The measles, the smallpox. His spirit is still there, and he loves your son, and he protects him. But because you became afraid of his spirit talking to your son, and you blocked off that whole left corner, he can no longer protect him. What do you mean by that? The parents said. The left side of the room is blocked off. Now you've moved your son to the right side. And those night marchers, those spirits of ancient Hawaiian warriors, are marching through your house. And they're going to take your son. That is why once a month, for 4 nights consecutive, you see him coming out of his bedroom with his hand up in the air like this, his head facing down. When they come through, they grab him by the hand. They're trying to take him. If you hadn't called me, if we hadn't talked, the next 4 nights, the next month, on the last night, the night of Muku, the night of no moon, they were going to take him, and you would never see your son again. Today, that little boy is a man. And as he grew older, he began to forget about that experience, where the spirit of that old Hawaiian man loved him, protected him, and kept him from the night marcher's path until the parents changed everything. And then their physician recommended a kahuna, who was instrumental in saving that little boy from being taken from the night marchers. As a man today, that little boy does not remember that experience. And maybe that's for the better. Unfortunately, I have to tell all of you, in our culture, night marchers are not an urban legend. They are the spirits of warrior chiefs who in life had to precede another Hawaiian chief that was so high-ranking that they were considered gods, and in their presence, no person beneath their rank could wear clothes, not for salacious means, but because of this person's rank. As well as not being able to wear clothes, you had to lie face down, hands behind the back of your head, and you couldn't look at them. If you did, you'd be killed. Even though you were supposed to be doing what you were supposed to be doing, if they walked by and a slight breeze moved some article of their clothing to brush up against you, you'd be killed. If the sun cast their shadow on your body, you're dead. Even if you pass the house too, because of this high-ranking person that lives in it, is also sacred. The shadow of that house falls on you. Awe, uamake, uapau. You're dead. You're finished. These high-ranking people, not even their own children could eat from their plate, and their bowel movements have to be put in wooden bowls on double-hull canoes, sometimes sailed out to the horizon and deposited, or buried in some secret spot that no one could find. It isn't because their number one and number two were considered sacred, coming from the body of a sacred chief. There was the worry that if the enemies of that chief found those personal fluids, they could actually use it to put curses on that person and their entire family. So to spare the common people, these high-ranking chiefs only came out at night. And so back then, at night, you see the long line of torchlights, you hear the drums, the conch shells, the chanting in Hawaiian. And because this is an army of warrior chiefs, they send out scouts to warn the common people not to be here by the time the procession arrives. And sometimes it's too late. And so when it is, the protocol is to take your clothes off, lie face down, hands behind the back of your head, and you can't look. A lot of tourists tell me, are you sure you Hawaiians didn't make this whole thing up to make fun of us, to see us get naked and lie face down in the dirt? Not at all. It's a thing. If you, as a Hawaiian, can recite your entire genealogical chant, there's a chance that one of the spirits in that night march or procession will recognize the chant, recognize you, and acknowledge you as a pua, a flower, a descendant, and will break ranks from that army, that spiritual army, stand over your body, and declare to the rest, Na'u no keia. This one is mine, and you'll be saved. They say if you're not sure, you're supposed to do number one in your hands. Rub it all over yourself and all over anyone else who you think might not be a Hawaiian or is not sure of their heritage. The reason you do that is because, number one, you want the night marchers to find you so disgusting they won't kill you. And number two, in certain ethnic circles, they say rubbing yourself with your own number one is also sort of like a spiritual cleansing agent to protect you from harm. If all else fails, they say, while naked, lie on your back spread eagle. Because in ancient times, only crazy people did that, and no one wanted anything to do with them. And so there's a possibility that the night marchers might leave you alone. But as a rule of thumb, for as long as I've known, if there's a group of people who know what to do as the night marchers are approaching the entire protocol, how to lie face down with no clothes, and not one of those persons are Hawaiian, the night marchers, as a rule of thumb, have to take one person. One person has to go. There are stories of a group of people lived in Hawaii all their life, know the language, know the culture, know the protocols, knowing night marchers are coming, doing what they're supposed to do, 10 people in the group. After it's all over, the spiritual storm has passed and the night marchers are gone, one of them is missing, never to be seen again. There's also a story about a location here on Oahu, in a place called Kualoa Ranch. Across Kualoa Ranch is Kualoa Beach Park. And as part of that beach park is a camp with cabin-like tents. And every year they have a summer program with the city and county. One year, one of the junior leaders told me that they had a meeting preparing for the coming days, the next summer camp, next group of teenagers. And they all decided to jump in a car and go get some lunch. And so I've been on this road myself, and this road from this summer camp place at Kualoa Beach Park is a pretty open road, pretty direct. It goes right out to the main highway. The junior leader told me, the day's clear. No one's having any personal problems. No one's smoking weed or doing drugs or anything like that. But for some reason, they kept getting turned around and they couldn't find the main road no matter what they did. It was almost as if they were driving in circles. When they're finally ready to give it up and got back on that road that they thought would bring them out to the main road, again, more high grass, more cane field. Couldn't even see the beach anymore. They thought they turned around, going back to the camp. And that's when they saw an old Hawaiian man dressed in dungarees, work boots, who walked up to the car, to the driver's side, the junior leader who was driving. The junior leader rolled the window down and said, "Aloha tutu, good afternoon." And the old Hawaiian man said, "You folks look like you lost." And he said, "We are. We've been here a million times, but we can't seem to find our way to the main road." The old Hawaiian man laughed. "Oh, you guys funny. You're trying to make fun of me, yeah?" "No, tutu, we'd never do that." "Okay, well, I don't know how you folks got lost, but the road is right there." And sure enough, less than 50 feet away, the main highway coming out of the beach park. The junior leader said, he turned to thank the old Hawaiian man. "Mahalo tutu." And he was gone. When he turned around and looked at everybody else who was in the car, they were all white as a sheet, eyes wide open, teeth bare, just shivering like this. And he said, "You guys saw that, right? You saw that old Hawaiian man, that tutu kane?" Everyone says, "Yes." The junior leader says, "Yeah, I saw him. I talked to him. But does anyone remember actually seeing his face? I don't remember that." And all the other junior leaders in the car couldn't remember it either. No one recalls actually seeing this old Hawaiian man's face. He may not have been a night marcher, but that road heading out to the main highway is a night marcher's path. And I know I said earlier that night marchers march by certain moon phases, but let's all remember, whether it's night or day, as long as the moon is there, it's still that phase. And the night marchers are still marching, day and night. Another personal account comes from a woman who, many years ago, past the 80s, said that she was with a group of hikers at the back of Kualoa Ranch. It was a big group, led by one guide. And at precisely 11 o'clock in the morning, the woman said, it was too late. We didn't hear the drums, the conch shells, the chanting in Hawaiian. We didn't smell the sulfur, the aroma of something that was dead. None of the signs were there. The night marchers, they were on us, like they appeared out of nothing. And so the hiking guide is screaming, "Get off the road, get off the road! Get down, everybody get down!" And he's running up and down, pushing people off the path, pushing them face first into the leaves and the dirt. When the guide gets to this woman, he practically tackles her and literally is on top of her, covering her head like this. And the woman said, with her face straight to the leaves and the dirt, the thundering sound of drums and feet marching, the horrible aroma of something that was so maliciously dead that the smell made her gag, and the sound of voices. Pa'i, ku'i, ho'omake. Slap that one. Punch that one. Kill that one. When it was finally over, when the traumatic noise was gone as well as the aroma, and those voices, the woman said the guide got off of her, and she could hear him moving further this way, making sure everybody else was all right. The woman said she lifted her face like this, looked down the path, and the very last night marcher at the end of that procession of warrior chiefs, those spirits, the last warrior, turned around and looked at her like this and blinked his eye. You see, she said, his body was still going down the path, but his head turned completely around in the opposite direction, looking at me. She admitted to my boss back then, to whom she told this first-hand account, that she hadn't been quite right ever since. Involuntarily, when things got bad, she would check herself into the mental facility that's notoriously haunted. There's another account where during World War II, they were doing training exercises on a part of Oahu called Kahuku, way on the North Shore. And the training exercises were to prepare themselves for what they were going to do, World War II, wherever it was they were going to go. And there were two units, the local unit here from Hawaii and the unit from San Diego. And in the Kahuku airfield, there were only two barracks, a big one and a small one. And so because the local unit was from Hawaii, they got the big barracks, wide, spread out. They enjoyed it. It had fans and you could open the doors and the breeze would come through. The unit from San Diego, those poor guys got the cramped quarters, literally sleeping next to somebody who's right here. As the local unit, the local and Hawaiian boys were falling asleep on their rack, all of a sudden, the front and back doors slam open. This terrific wind comes through and it has this horrible smell. And some of the local boys are beginning to retch, but most of them are being physically grabbed like this. The material of their uniform shirts being twisted so tightly to the point where it actually leaves bruises on their chest. And they're thrown out of bed across the room. Sometimes others, even while lying in their rack, have that entire rack, that bunk bed, picked up physically, tossed this way. They're all frightened. They're being beat up by something that they can't see. They can hear drums. They can hear chanting. That smell of sulfur. They suddenly realize where they are, and that nearby is the remnants of an old temple of human sacrifice. Kahua ka'ihele kapo, one of the boys yells. The night marchers, those who march in the night. What do they do to solve this problem? Well, the following day, they go to the smaller barracks where the unit from San Diego is, and they bring them food, they bring them beer, and after getting to know each other and having this great celebration, they say to the unit from San Diego, you know what? We like you guys so much, we're gonna give you a break. Why don't you guys take the big barracks and we'll just move in here. This is our aloha to you. And so the unit from San Diego grabbed everything, moved themselves into the big barracks, and the local boys took the small one. Boy, were they in for a surprise. True story. There's another account in the 1980s, a place called Campbell High School. 4 boys, late at night, play football for Campbell. The game just finished, winning game, full of pride, girls cheering for them. They go buy some beer at the local store. They're at a beach. And the name of the beach is Habush. And so they're drunk, running up and down the beach, throwing a football, full on tackle, no shoulder pads, nothing. The one boy named Kalei said he caught the football that seemed like it was never going to end. It would just keep spiraling toward a place called Barber's Point. And he caught it. And when he caught it, he dove for it, ended up in the ocean. Kind of sobered him up. Just walking back up the beach, he notices all of his friends hightailing it back to the parking lot, heading toward their cars. Oh, where the hell are you guys going? What's going on? Without warning, something or someone knocks him to the sand. Knocks him to the sand so fiercely that even before he has a chance to stand up, he said he felt this huge foot that he couldn't see, but knew it was huge because when it placed itself on the back of it, his head smashed his entire face into the sand. He struggled and struggled, felt like he was going to suffocate, and the sand was going to invade his lungs. And when he finally got himself free, he looked up, a procession of Hawaiian warriors passing by, and that there were 4 of them standing over him. One of them, he said, actually lifted his foot like this, and this part of the foot stuck right here on his side. And it singed him. It said it burned so badly. And then the pain got worse because as the foot is standing on his side like this, it twists him this way. His entire body goes with it. And then they flip him over. He feels this piercing pain, screams bloody murder. And then it's gone. When I was told this story by this person, he said, burnt footprint, not there. But he turned around and he said to me, but this spot right here, try and tap on it. It just looked like an old keloid scar. But when I tapped on it, I heard, there's something under your skin. He said, yeah, it's that sliver of wood from that spear that pierced my side. Didn't get infected. Nothing happened. It's just there. You try to take it out, millions of times. Won't come out. A funny night marcher story that I was told happens on the island of Kauai. On that island, a man from California buys a piece of property, builds this big 2-story sprawling house made entirely of wood. And of course, before he builds the house, he's got to go to the forest, this area, and clear everything out. And as he's building the house, all the Hawaiians who live nearby try to tell him, sir, this is not a good place to build this. The kupuna are here. He doesn't know what kupuna means. And then they tell him, the kupuna, the uhane, are here. This is not a good place to build. As they try to explain, kahua kaiheli kapo. He has no clue what they're saying. He builds the house anyway. The story goes that things are a bit unaffected for a few months, almost a year. And then suddenly, one night, all the Hawaiian neighbors who live nearby see the sky glowing orange and red and look in the direction of this man's house and realizes the entire thing is aflame. When they run to that direction to somehow help this poor man, his beautiful 2-story house made of logs that he cut down from those trees in that Hawaiian forest is split entirely in half. Both sides burning. That night, one of the Hawaiian families had a distant cousin who was visiting from Honolulu. And so he was there to assist in any way he could. As the Hawaiians were trying to explain kupuna, uhane, hua kaiheli kapo, that distant cousin said to the man, they've been trying to tell you all this time not to build your house in this spot. The spirits of the elders come through here, those who march in the night. You built your house on their path, and so your house is in the way. They went right through. But if you build in another spot, you should be fine. The last thing I want to share with you is another interesting story, and there's a newspaper article about it, and possibly Ryan could give you my email, and I could find that article for you and make sure you get it. In Waikiki, there was the Biltmore Hotel. And when the Biltmore Hotel was being built, you get that? The old Hawaiians in Waikiki told the developers, if you build this hotel 2-3 blocks that way, you should be safe. What do you mean safe? What are you trying to say? They pointed to the ground where the development was about to happen, and the Hawaiians said, this spot is an aumilu, an opening to the underworld. No ancient chief, no Hawaiian monarch in their right mind ever built anything on this spot. Because the mana that comes through this place, the energy is ino. It's mai ka'iole. It's bad. And the developers said to those old Hawaiians in Waikiki, and I quote, stupid Hawaiians, don't you understand? The Biltmore was the hotel for a while until it was taken down. And they built another hotel on top of it. And when that hotel was being built, other Hawaiians who were still left in Waikiki told those developers, if you build this hotel a couple blocks that way, you should be fine. What do you mean by fine? And those old Hawaiians said, this spot where the Biltmore used to be is an aumilu, an opening to the underworld. None of the ancient chiefs, none of the Hawaiian monarchs who lived in Waikiki dared to build anything on this spot. Because the mana, the energy that passes through here, mai ka'i'ola, mea ino, it's not good, it's bad. And those developers said to those Hawaiians, I don't think you Hawaiians understand. All that's important now. No one cares about spirits. You see, night marchers march from mountain to ocean, along riverbeds, sometimes underground lava tubes. They stop at particular kinds of heiau, or old Hawaiian temples, for whatever they're going to do. And a lot of times they don't go directly to the ocean, as close as it may be. Sometimes they go through an opening into the underworld and then head out to the ocean. And so the hotel that's on this spot today is the #1 most haunted hotel in Waikiki. I'm not going to tell you the name of that hotel. I will tell you the name if Ryan invites me back for another one of these presentations. I think you'll appreciate it. That's my presentation for today. I humbly thank you for allowing me to be here in this space for this amount of time, to share with you documented accounts, first-hand accounts, and long-time stories of what we call the night marchers. Kahua ka'iheli kapo, those who travel in the night, which to us are our ancestors, our family, the ones we love. Mahalo nui a oko pa kahiapa. Ahuiho. Malamang pono.